Hello, good morning, and good afternoon, my future chefs. We are making some really fun recipes today. If you were able to come by and pick up one of our Storybook Tea Witches and Wizards kits labeled Potions and Party Favors, you have in your hands two different recipe cards. One for Wizard Hat Cookies and one for Witch's Brew Punch. But if you didn't make it in time to pick up one of those kits, then you are still in luck. I have plenty of copies of these recipe cards, so just come on in and you can pick one up. But here's what you're going to need for both of these recipes. These are super fun and great for Halloween parties for sure. So for our Wizard Hat cookies, these are very, very simple. And there's definitely a few different ways that you can make these perfect for you and your party. So what you're going to need are refrigerated pie crusts. So the key here is definitely that you want the ones that you're going to find with the canned biscuits and cookies and things like that. You don't want to buy the shelf-stable pie crusts that have already been formed. Those are totally different. Those are graham cracker, and these are actual pie crust dough. So you'll need those. You will also need some chips. Now, the recipe that I found initially called for chocolate chips. However, since we are talking about a wizard and a school that he goes to where butterscotch is quite popular, we are going to use some butterscotch chips, but also some chocolate chips. You will also need a sugar cinnamon mix. Now, you can buy that already mixed together. If not, just plain white sugar and some ground cinnamon. Now, the recipe calls for very specific measurements. It calls for a tablespoon of white sugar and a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. But you mix that however you like it. If you like it heavier on the cinnamon, then definitely go that way. If you like it lighter on the cinnamon, definitely do that. These are your cookies and it's for your party, so you do it however you like. So that is recipe number one. In addition to our food ingredients, we are of course going to need a cookie sheet for baking cookies. And I have started preheating our oven to 375 degrees. So that's recipe number one. Recipe number two is our Witch's Brew Punch. This one has a lot more ingredients, but it's not super duper complicated. So what you're going to need for this is a cup of boiling water. I have my kettle all ready to go back there. That is definitely the easiest way for little people to get boiling water. It's a lot safer. If you have an electric kettle, that is wonderful. If not, you can put a cup of water in a measuring cup and put it in your microwave until it's boiling. Also very easy method. So we are going to need, in addition to our 1 cup of boiling water, ooh, sounds like our oven's ready to go. We're gonna need 3 cups of white sugar. Now, everything else in here is pretty sweet. So if you wanted to reduce the amount of sugar that you put in this, that's totally fine too. Just depends on how much of a sweet tooth you have. So we are also going to need 3 ounces, 2 3-ounce packs of lime jello. Now, the Publix that I went to only had a 6-ounce box, which is just fine. It says a little bit of math. You can do 2 3 ounces or 1 6-ounce. We will also need very cold pineapple juice. So definitely this is one of those recipes where you're gonna wanna buy everything in advance and make sure that it's the right temperature before you start putting this together. The key to the pineapple juice being cold is it's going to halt the gelatin from cooking any longer than absolutely necessary. So that's why it needs to be really, really cold. I've had this in the freezer to make sure that it stays really chilly. Also, we are going to use 1 2-liter bottle of ginger ale, whatever brand you prefer. I love Canada Dry. And then you're going to need 3 cups of orange drink. I went with carbonated. You don't have to. You could use High C, something like that, that is orange, if you don't want the bubbles. And then we will also need 1/2 gallon of orange sherbet. There are a lot of different kinds of sherbet, so if something in that cabinet and that freezer case looks better to you than orange, absolutely feel free to put your own spin on it. And we will also need some worms, of course, for our witch's brew. I got the sour neon worms, but you could go with plain, whatever you like, whatever is your favorite. And naturally, if we are making witch's brew, we need a cauldron, of course. So here's everything that you're going to need to get started. So gather up your ingredients and I'll be back and we will start on these cookies. All right, we are all set to start on these wizard hat cookies. These are going to be really fun and it's super easy. Now, the refrigerated pie dough comes in 2 rolls and then you just unroll it and it comes out looking like this. Almost looks like a pizza. So I am, of course, using my cutting board for this. Now, if you have a pizza roller, a pizza cutter, that is definitely something that would be very handy for this. However, if you don't have one, just a plain old knife will do. You don't need anything really big or anything super sharp. This pie dough is very, very soft. So the key is we want to make even wedges. So we are going to go for, let's see, 16. So we need to make 8 different cuts, if my math is right. But keep in mind, I work in a library. I'm good with words, not numbers. So, but we're gonna go with half. So instead of 1 pieces, now we have 2. And then we're gonna cut it again. And instead of 2 pieces, now we have 4. And then we're gonna cut each of these in half. And what is 4 times 2? 8. You're right. Okay, so then we'll cut across here. And here. We're almost there because now we have 8. And once we cut all 8 of these in half, how many we will have? 16. Yay. Okay, so. And if when you take your pie dough out, it has some little spots, like little holes, it's fine. You can just push those back together. It's just dough, like pizza dough or anything else. You can just, fix up those holes with your fingertips to get them back in good shape. All right, now we have 16 evenly cut wedge-shaped pieces. Now what, you ask? All right, I'm glad that you asked. We are going to take some of our chips and we are going to put them at the larger end, the outside of our wedge. So let's just take one of these guys here, just like this. And let's just take a few of our butterscotch chips. You could even mix these together too, the chocolate and the butterscotch. Whatever you think would taste the best. You could use white chocolate too. I use a lot of white chocolate chips. So once we have a few on there, we're going to take this end and just roll it over. See, it already looks like a hat. Well, I don't know if you can see it at that angle, but we're just gonna roll this up. And you can even like kind of bend it a little bit to make it look a little bit more like an actual wizard's hat. Let's see, can you see this? There we go. And we're just gonna place that on our cookie sheet. And I'm just gonna do half and half. We'll just alternate chocolate and butterscotch. Let's roll that up. And this is an ungreased cookie sheet. You don't have to worry about spraying it or putting butter or oil or anything on it. And then what you're going to do once you have your chips inside your little hats, we're just going to sprinkle. Let's just stir this back up a little bit. I put a little bit more cinnamon than called for in this, so it's a little bit darker. And you could put other baking spices in here. Nutmeg, let's see, what else? Pumpkin-y, clove, anything that is very fall feeling, warm spices, if you like those too. So we're just gonna take a little bit of this and sprinkle it right on our wizard hats. However much you like. If you want them really sweet, you can load that sugar on. If you just want like a hint of sweetness, you can just sprinkle a little bit. whatever you like. This is all up to you. Like I said, it's your Halloween party. Make it however you like. So I'm going to finish up with the rest of these cookies. We are going to pop it into our oven that is already preheated to 375 degrees, and we are going to bake them for 11 to 14 minutes. Every oven is a little bit different. Some cook very fast, some take a little bit longer. So 11 to 14 is just a sort of a window. So I would set your timer for 11 minutes, which is what I'm going to do, and just check them out and see how they're looking. If they look like they need a little bit longer, if they're not quite brown enough, you could let them go a little bit longer, but I would check them about every minute between that 11 to 14 minute window. So I'm gonna finish up with these and pop them in the oven, and then we will start our witch's brew. I'll be back in just a few minutes. Welcome back. We are ready to start on our witch's brew. So I'm starting off in this clear bowl so you can see what I'm doing. So in this bowl right here, I have our lime jello mix and our 3/4 cup of white sugar. And again, if you want to use a little less sugar than that, that's totally fine. All right, let's mix those together. And now we are going to add 1 cup of boiling water. My kettle just finished boiling, so I'm gonna pour it in here. One cup. Okay, so now we're gonna pour that. Ooh, very, very green. So we're going to mix this together until all of that sugar and jello is dissolved. And a whisk is definitely the best tool for this job. You could use a spoon, but the whisk really breaks everything up and gets it going, gets it air flowing in there and mixes it up. All right. Still got some sugar in there. I can see it floating around. So this is just going to take a couple of minutes. So the hot water is going to activate that gelatin that's in the lime jello pack. And that's why we're going to add our very, very cold, I just took this out of the freezer, pineapple juice. And it's going to halt that process that's going on right now with the hot water and the gelatin so that it doesn't form, it doesn't harden up like jello would after you mix it together and put it in the refrigerator. All right, looks like we are all dissolved, so I'm going to then pour this in. All right. It is looking good. So now we've got that all mixed together. All right, so now you can see what that looks like. And we're just gonna sit this to our side and pull out our cauldron, because of course it's witch's brew. It has to go in a cauldron, right? So into this, we are going to pour that in. Okay. I'm gonna keep that whisk though, because we're gonna mix everything else in here. So next, we are going to add our ginger ale, 2 liters. Very handy size. Set this off, because we don't have to measure anything. It already comes in a 2-liter package. And as you can see, this definitely is, you know, enough for a good size party. There's our ginger ale. Put this off to the side for recycling, of course. And now we are going to add our orange drink, 3 cups of orange drink. Again, I'm using Fanta, which is carbonated, but you could absolutely use High C if you don't want the extra carbonation. Oh, it totally changed the color. All right. Recycling. And now our 1/2 gallon of orange sherbet, say it however you like. There's an R in there. I like to pronounce it. Oh, that's our cookies. Our 11-minute timer has gone off, so let's take a peek and see how they're looking. Oh, they look pretty good, but they look like they might need 1 more minute. Okay, so this is definitely the tricky part. When you are working with ice cream, you don't want to pull it immediately out of the freezer and try to use it, because I'm sure, as you've maybe run into a time or two on your own, it is very hard to get out of the container. So it's always helpful to take it out a few minutes in advance of when you're going to use it, so it will kind of loosen up, and you can see, you can kind of just squeeze it at the edges. So very gently though, because we don't want all of this stuff splashing on us, we are going to put the sherbet into here, and then we're going to add our worms. So I'll be right back because my cookies are almost finished, and then we will finish up both recipes at the same time. And we are back. So I am going to just scoop our sherbet into here. And if you make this and put it in your refrigerator, if you make it in advance and put it in the refrigerator before your party, these scoops may stay somewhat intact. But of course, once it sits out at room temperature for a little while, this is just going to gently melt in. So you'll want to stir this up periodically while there's still some in the bowl, if it doesn't disappear very quickly. Okay, so we're just going to scoop all this in. Yeah, it's a lot easier to work with, as you can see, if you let it sit out for just a little bit. Also, sherbet's a little bit softer than traditional ice cream, just because of its chemical makeup. Okay. Right. That is about all of our sherbet. And there we go. Maybe. All right, so we are finished with that. And now, of course, we are going to add the most fun part, the worms. Yes, because of course, every good witch's brew needs to have some worms in it, right? The recipe calls for 20, but you know, use your own discretion. I would personally put just a handful in, and then I would have a bowl sitting next to my cup. So when people scoop some out, they can add as many worms to their witch's brew as they would like. And it is so pretty. It's very colorful. Okay, so there we have that. And then also our cookies are finished. And as you can see, they look like really cute little wizard hats. And it's kind of fun. Some of them are chocolate chips and some of them are butterscotch. So you can put them all on a plate, and it's kind of, you know, up to fate which one you will get. Will you get butterscotch? Will you get chocolate? And like I said, you could always combine the two inside the witch's hat if you like that also. It's your party. You make it taste however you want it to taste. But I'll tell you, it sure does look really delicious. And I'm sure that everybody that comes to your spooky Halloween party is going to love it. Like I said, stop by the library and you can get your copies of these recipes if you weren't able to get here in time to pick up one of our Storybook Tea Potions and Party Favors kits. They were a very limited number, and you guys are really fast coming to get those things, which makes me very happy. I hope you enjoyed these recipes and you have a wonderful spooky season, and we'll see you next month on Fresh for Kids. Bye.